shoes. In this mind, you will see who you're really gonna be. Hollowed out, filled with sin, keeping watch, I don't pretend. Feelings throw you to the ground, pick it up and spin around. Stay true, I don't wanna be in this room. Stay true, I don't wanna be in this room.
Alrighty. Welcome to the Freakcast. My name is Stephen Carroll. I guess I would consider myself the head freak. We can tell you more about that as we move forward. If this is your first time joining in, I'm glad that you've joined in with us. If you're joining in live, welcome. If you're listening back later on, thank you for listening and downloading and checking us out here on the Freakcast. This is a podcast that I started actually over a year ago and did some episodes and kind of fell out of it. And over the last few months, I've been reminded of how important it is that I get back on here and at least try to work hard to tell people stories. We believe that every story matters and that every story is important, and that's why we do this. In fact, there's a verse that I love. It is called Revelation 12:11. It says, "And they defeated him by the blood of the Lamb and by their testimony or their story. And they did not love their lives so much they were afraid to die." And so the whole idea is that I believe every story matters and that every opportunity is to tell a story. And this verse just talks about how that the enemy and the things that we face in life are overcome when we recognize that we have a way out. For me personally, that is through my relationship with the Lord and knowing Jesus, and then realizing that I have a story that's being written, and how I respond and how I move forward and how you move forward and how we all move forward is what it's all about. So over the past, we've had a lot of incredible stories on here just from people just like you that have gone through um, situations, circumstances, whatever it may be. They faced a lot of different things in life and have a story to tell and are still writing a story. So that's why we do what we do. Our intro by Dawson Carroll. He is my son. It's called Stay True. And I love the song. Follow him. He's done some great stuff. But the whole point of the song is that staying true to what our purpose is and our mission is, recognizing that sometimes it's difficult. Dawson wrote that song when he was staying in just a garage, little small apartment. And like the song says in the chorus, he couldn't even find a shoe one day. And he's like, how can I not find my shoe in this little room? And felt difficult circumstances around him, felt a little hopeless. And he wrote that song, I got to stay true to what I'm all about. And he has. And our guest that we're going to have today definitely has. You can see across the bottom there that our guest today is a man named Jerry Kidd, who we're going to talk to, but he has had a huge impact on many, many lives, and he has got an incredible story to tell. And so we want to bring him on here so we can hear his story. So here he is. Brother Jerry, how are you, sir?
I'm fine, Stephen. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. I was trying to think of a kind of a tagline to talk about just to kind of describe you. And what I came up with was I had a little help. I actually asked Drew a little bit, got some input, and then I might have let Chat GPT help me a little bit too. But it's global mission and an unshakable faith and battling cancer along the way, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. But I just have always just admired you, and I know that so many other people have as well. And I'm just so thankful that you're here and just to hear your story and who you are. How old are you now, Brother Jerry?
I will be 65 the 20th of this month.
65.
I'm sorry.
65.
80.
85, huh?
I got the 5 right anyway.
You had the 5 right, but you were just off by about what, 20 years?
I gotta keep him honest.
Yeah.
That's Drew Klein there in the background offering his input and help. He helped us get him on here. Well, Brother Jerry, the first time that I ever remember knowing who you were was when I was a kid, and my dad was pastoring a church in South Arkansas called Lake Erland Baptist Church. And we were there, and I was in a program they used to have for kids called Galileans, I think. Yeah, Galileans. No, it
Right.
wasn't. It was Sunbeams. It was Sunbeams.
Oh,
Anyway, yeah, I
before
go
Gal,
way back. Yeah, I
before,
go way back.
yeah,
Yeah. And we were raised I remember us I can still see the moment in my mind. We were putting boxes together. And in fact, Drew sent me this picture here. We were putting boxes together to send to you so that um you could take those supplies. It was all medical supplies, so you could take those supplies in your airplane to the mission field. And so that's the first time I ever remember hearing of you. In fact, I got a picture of you in front of your airplane right there on the Gleaner from March of 1978.
yeah. That was the second plane that we carried to South America.
Oh, was it really?
Uh-huh.
Well, well, I want to hear how you became a pilot and how tell us about yourself and how you were born, where you were born, where you were raised, and how you kind of grew up and kind of became the person that you are today from those foundational years early on.
Well, thank you. I was born actually below Spring Hill, Arkansas, and I was born in a house. My great
Really?
aunt, yeah, my mother and father were living with a great aunt, and I was born in that house, and lived my early life there, and eventually we moved to Hope, and eventually then I went on to college at Magnolia, which was called Southern State University at that time.
Right.
And then while I was there, I felt the call of the Lord on my life in ministry, and followed my wife to Central Baptist College. And the next summer, then we were married, and then started pastoring churches in Arkansas, just part-time churches. But my first full-time church, I was led to Spring Hill, Louisiana,
Really?
East Side Baptist Church in Spring Hill, Louisiana.
You
And
know, I don't think I ever knew that, Brother Jerry. You know, that's where I grew up in Spring Hill, Louisiana.
oh yeah, yeah, and I
I'll be
know,
dog.
yeah, we had about a 4 year ministry in
Yeah.
in Spring Hill, and it was there that I felt the call for a more uh, open ministry. Went to Florida to help a friend that you knew, Phil Meisenheimer. He was an interstate missionary, and I went down to Florida a number of summers to help him with revival meetings. And there, I saw the need for going to areas where there were no churches, no Bible believing churches, and we eventually went to Fort Walton Beach, Florida, and uh, pastored a mission church at that time. And the Lord gave us a great ministry. We stayed there for 5 years. And it was there then that I received the call to go to what we call then foreign missions,
Right.
which is international missions. Brother Gerald Price used to be a missionary with our association, and he was privileged to get an airplane with S&H green stamps and gold bond stamps. Uh, and
Really?
yeah, and he was showing his slides one night, and I very distinctly remember that I was looking at those slides, and I said to myself, boy, that's got to be the best of both worlds. You
Right.
you're able to preach and fly an airplane at the same time.
Now, Brother
And
Jerry, what year was that? Like we're talking about, what year are we looking at around that time?
well, uh, we left uh, Louisiana in 1967,
Okay.
and we left Florida in about uh, 82. Uh,
Okay.
it was because it was there that night. I was going to tell you that night, the Lord said to me, as I made that statement, that's the best of both worlds. The
Hmm.
Lord said very, very clearly, well, I can use you if you are willing to go. And so Sue and I started praying about it and decided that that's what we felt like the Lord wanted us to do. And so we um, resigned the church in Fort Walton Beach, went to Laterno uh, College then, it's a university
Hmm.
now, and they specialized in preparing missionaries for work in the outback. And one of their uh, programs was aviation. And for a year, I took we moved to Lerno, Longview, Texas, and I started preparing for the missions work. I got my pilot's license, my ham radio license, and we took a course paramedics, and we took some anthropology courses, and we took some Portuguese. Thought might be going to Brazil, so we took some Portuguese, and just to prepare ourselves for life in the outback. And in the next year, then we were elected as missionaries uh, to go to Bolivia. We wound up going to Bolivia because Marvin Lloyd was a missionary in Bolivia then, and he said, we need someone that can come and support the Arringtons and us. We are both living in the jungle, and we need a support. And so we went in to Bolivia that year.
Wow.
Uh,
So in the middle of all this, did you get your pilot's license, I guess? Were you working on it at the same time?
yeah, that year at Laterno, I got my pilot's license.
Okay. Okay.
As I said, and we took the other courses too. I took a ham
Okay. I
radio
got you. I got you.
license course.
Right. Okay.
It was the hardest year I ever had as far as academics was concerned,
Wow.
because I already had my degree from Central College in Bible. So we just concentrated on the other courses that were needed to prepare us to live in the outback.
Wow. That's amazing. And so that at that point, so y'all were living you moved to Bolivia and got your plane was down to Bolivia, and
Yeah.
did you have the plane already, or was it the same plane that he'd gotten with the H&B stamps, or was it a different plane?
So he kept his plane in Brazil, and I raised money for another airplane to use in Bolivia. We
Wow.
went to the churches, and they responded as always, so good, and were so gracious, and we were able to pay for the airplane in the year that I had left in deputation. We raised the money for the plane in Bolivia at that time.
And that what year was that you went to Bolivia?
We went to in '67.
Wow. 19. And so then at that point you just started, and so you're in Bolivia and you're just going to these different spots. Did you have to did they have to carve out like landing strips, or did you just go to current airports, or how did you do that?
We did almost any way that you can think of. We would we used some airstrips that were already cut out, and then we cut out new airstrips, like where the Arringtons were. They lived in the deep jungle. It took us over a year to carve out a strip in that area. We would take the goalpost off of soccer fields to make it a runway possible, and we would operate a lot of times off of those soccer fields in the villages. Almost every village had a soccer field,
Right.
and we would we would we would just it was a short it was short, and we were
I'm just the
limited
same.
on what we could get. Yeah, we were limited on our payload, what we could get in and out, but
Right.
we made it possible. Yeah,
And then taking off had to be kind of hairy sometimes as well, I would think.
very much so. We would barely make it over the fence. Uh, I, re-
Okay, so what?
I, I
Oh, go ahead.
remember I remember one time the wheel just nipped the fence post, and but we got off anyway.
Yeah. So what about like how did you get to Bolivia initially in the first place? Did you fly there or did you
Yeah.
have to how did you get there?
Well, uh, I told you about Brother Price. He was
Right?
an experienced pilot, had worked many years in Brazil. And so he and I flew the airplane from the United States to Bolivia. We went across the Caribbean, island hopped from island to island, and then went in the east coast of South America and across Brazil into Bolivia. That was our route that
Okay.
we made to go there. Yeah.
And did you at that time? I mean, I know you were I guess you and Sue were already married at that time. And did she go with you initially? And did y'all already have kids at that time, or kind of where were you at as far as family wise?
Yes, while we were in Fort Walton Beach, Florida, we adopted our two children through the
Okay.
Children's Home Society of Florida, and we had them. They flew commercially to Bolivia and got there before we did, and it took us just about I think about 7 or 8 days to fly uh, the airplane to Bolivia, and they met us there.
Oh wow. So was there a train or something? Did you have to travel by train or anything like that along the way?
Well, our first trip uh, to Bolivia, we drove. The
Okay.
Lloyds, the Lloyd family, and our family, we drove to Bolivia.
So
Uh,
just so I'm clear on that. So you went from down through Mexico and I guess or as far as the trip,
yes, it took us 3 months to get to Bolivia.
3 months.
3 months. Yeah, we had everything that happened that could happen to delay. We were first delayed in Panama because of the year. It was the year of the fuel crisis, and the Panama Canal was basically closed for the big ships, and they were just going to Panama and turning around and coming back, and we had to get an ocean going barge to ship our rigs. Well, we had I had a Chevrolet camper special with a 12-foot camper on the back of it, and I pulled a 17-foot camping trailer behind it for the Lloyd family. My family lived in the camper. The Lloyd family lived in the trailer, and we drove an 18-foot worn out East Texas motor freight truck loaded with supplies and equipment to take to Bolivia. And uh, the rainy season had started because of the delay in Panama, and we had to ship our rigs on rail cars up to the top of the Andes Mountains to a place called Puno, Peru, and it was on the bank of Lake Titicaca, the
Wow.
largest navigable lake in the world, and that Peru was the border of the Peruvian side, and Bolivia was the border on the other side of the lake, and so that's where we landed in Bolivia on that oh, on that ship there.
Wow. So 3 months, and along the way, I mean, there's got to be like you got your family, and then uh, all the families are together, right? You're traveling together, and
Yes.
you run into all these obstacles. I mean, are you obviously? I guess you guys had already learned Spanish, and um, were
Did,
you able to communicate and move that direction, or
didn't know a word of Spanish when we started. The Lloyds did, but
yeah?
I remember the first word in Spanish that I learned. And it was ice, hielo.
Why
It
was that the
was
first word? Just
it was so hot everywhere I went. I looked for ice.
that's amazing. So like, so your whole family, everything, as far as like just, and I got a picture. I guess this is. I've got a picture here of you guys on a motorcycle. I guess that's you and Sue and the kids, right? I don't
Yeah,
know if
we
you.
were already yeah we were already in Bolivia then.
Okay, that's in Bolivia. And
Yeah,
then
that was a
is this
Honda 350 motorcycle.
was this in Florida, possibly?
No, that was in Bolivia.
Well, this is the
Oh, was
one
it?
Wait a minute.
with the green fatigues,
Yeah, this one with the green car. It's the green car.
A green car.
and you got like a fly suit on or something.
You got a nice looking jumpsuit on, brother Jerry,
Is
and
that
the baby.
in front of the
Is,
airplane?
Julie's a baby in front of the car.
Oh, that's Bolivia. That's Florida.
yeah, that's Florida. So that's
That
before
that
you guys went.
it was that was that Jason or Julie?
Uh,
It's
well, they're
two,
both there. So
both of
who's?
them.
Julie's the youngest.
Yeah, Julie's a baby.
But so yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Okay.
you're holding Julie, and Jason's standing in front of Sue.
I'm sorry,
So
I can't see it, but we were
no,
kind
that's fine.
of
That's
dressed.
fine. I just think it's amazing. So your kids, I mean, of course, I mean, I mean, you're talking about this. I know you obviously lived it, and I know for myself and people listening or watching, the whole idea of a 3 month journey, starting and moving all the way through Mexico and going all the different directions that you went, and then having your family with you, and just the challenges along the way, and just
Oh,
were there ever moments that you were like, what in the world have we done?
about 15 minutes after I drove out of Little Rock,
Yeah,
I, I wondered, well, what in the world are you doing?
yeah,
Where are you
yeah,
going?
yeah. And then,
I'm sure every missionary has that. Yeah.
well, I think that, anybody that is going to begin a journey that is new, and, that's really when you think about the whole idea of the podcast, why I call it the Freak Cast. I mean, I don't even know if you know that, just to kind of interject that, but, after I got diagnosed with multiple myeloma, I wore this shirt to all my treatments. And it's an old shirt that I got at a DC Talk concert, Christian Bank, and the song was Jesus Freak. And underneath it, it says the definition, or one of the definitions of the word freak, is an ardent enthusiast. And I think about, so it's meant as an an affectionate term or a courageous term the way I use it. And just the people that I have been blessed to meet along the way are just people like you know, and you're just somebody that one statement 15 minutes after you left Little Rock, you just moved forward in a path, you know, and going and facing the things that were in front of you with two small kids and your wife and another family, pulling a camper and just moving all the way down through there. Just the challenges along the way and the discouragement and the things that you had to have felt. How did you find yourself moving through all that? I mean, what were the things that you pulled from the resources that you felt and the beliefs and the conviction that you had to just keep moving forward and not to stop?
Well, Stephen, it goes back to your call. You have to know that whenever you say it, Lord, I'll go where you want me to go. I'll do what you want me to do. Uh, those aren't just words. They have to come from the bottom of your heart, the depth of your soul, the depth of your being, and it's what you draw on a million times during the years that you spend on the field. Yeah, there are moments on the mission field that on uh, Sunday night you resign, you write your letter, and on Monday morning you tear it up and you say, "No, Lord, you're the one that called me, and you're the one that's going to sustain me, and I trust you, I believe you, and here we go." And you just pick up
Right.
and you know you've been there. You have to renew that vow that you have made with the Lord that doesn't make any difference. This is where you want me to go. This is what you want me to do, and it doesn't make any difference if you're flying an airplane or if you're toting a sack of potatoes to take out to the Lloyds or the Arringtons. It's that's the reason that you're there.
Right. And when you were in Bolivia, Brother Jerry, I mean, that's just knowing your purpose and everything moving forward. And like you just said, which was beautiful, honestly, you know, just drawing back on that purpose. I think so many times it's easy to, like you said, quit multiple times a day, but you're in the middle of it. And when you start moving towards your purpose and kind of finding out how many different areas and mission areas were you serving? Was it specifically the Lloyds and Arringtons, or were there others? And then I guess there were different communities that they were all serving, and you were just kind of bringing supplies and medicine and the things that were needed, um, you know, as well as serving in the area. How
Yeah,
many different areas did you serve?
I would like to preface it with one statement,
Okay.
Stephen. Uh, if you were to come up to me and say, "Here's a check for $1 million. Take out those 8 years of your life and replace it with $1 million," I wouldn't even think about it,
Mm,
uh, because of what God taught me during those
mm,
8 years. He taught me most of all about who He was, who God is, and what God can do. Uh, he can defy gravity. Uh, he can perform miracles. He is real. He says, "I'll do what I have to do in order for you to do the work I've called you to do," and
mm.
there are no limitations. There are no boundaries. Uh, God is God, and God will be your God at the time that you need Him the most, and He will show Himself to be who He is, the great God, the powerful God, the omniscient God. He will prove it uh, in physical ways that you have to get yourself in extenuating circumstances sometimes to see Him work. So
What do you,
I wouldn't take I wouldn't take $1 million for what he
Right.
taught me about who he is, about himself, about what I learned about God during that time, and
Yeah.
his ministry. I learned how big his ministry is. I learned that he is a kingdom God. That he is for all who name his name, and he will not cut short any blessings that we need. He will not cut short any miracles that are needed to perform uh, for his people. I
Yeah.
work with a number of missionary organizations, making emergency flights, saving little children who needed emergency surgeries, uh, flying people in distress situations. Besides just flying and carrying groceries and food and uh, oil, gas and oil and things like that, the menial things. Uh, there were so many opportunities that I had to save people's lives. Uh,
Wow.
I could just go on and tell you stories about what God did during those 8 years.
Yeah. When you talk about extenuating circumstances, of course, I know of one story where, and you don't have to, obviously, I know you have so many to draw from, but I can't remember if you told me the story or someone, but you were flying and you were heading somewhere in the storm, and you just how you've seen, like you made the comment, and I think you just spoke to it, like that you put yourself um, in situations and circumstances, sometimes by choice and sometimes just beyond our choice, but that we see God work in those extenuating circumstances and situations. And it may be that we start down a path, like you may have started the flight headed a certain direction. Of course, we're talking about, late 60s and early 70s, in that point, not knowing exactly completely what was ahead of you, and you run into something like that. But I heard a story about a storm and just those moments, like you mentioned, how that God shows up in ways that He only can when you are in a moment like that. Um, what would you
Yes.
say? And I don't know how you would draw or how you would pick a story. I know you have a ton, but what's
Well,
one of the first ones that comes to your mind when you think about a moment like that where you just saw God intervene
well,
and just
the most
revalidate?
uh, the the most frightening story was when uh, I made a pilot error and
Okay.
got myself in a thunderstorm, and I found myself in just a few moments from bright sunshine into extreme darkness and blackness and thunders and lightnings and airplane flying upside down, and I didn't know which
Oh,
direction it was on. And I remember very distinctly praying, God forgive me. I'm going to kill these people that are in the plane with me, and I'm going to just destroy the airplane and the ministry and all for because I just didn't I just wasn't careful about watching for the storm and getting in it. And so clearly, Stephen, that I heard him say in the midst of that as I was really getting caught up on my prayer life. I remember him saying uh, when I said I'm going to kill all of us, and I'm sorry, and he said as clear as day, no, I'm not through with you yet. Uh,
wow.
I, I have more for you to do, and he did. Uh, with using a wind shear, get us out of that thunderstorm, and we were almost probably about 15 seconds from the tops of the trees, crashing into the tops of the trees, and I had to pull it out of a deep dive, and the wings stayed on the airplane though they were wrinkled, like looked like corrugated tin from one wingtip to the other because of the stress that we put on the airplane. And uh, and he kept the wings on the airplane. And, and well, it's another story. But about 10 minutes after that, I received a call on the HF radio that we had, saying that a little boy was in a jungle compound and needed emergency appendectomy. It was very critical. Could I come and uh, pause the flight I was in, empty the plane, and get him to a hospital? And we did that, and then
Wow.
came and resumed the flight, which I was taking some Latvian Baptist to their post that was called the Tiger's Corner, and we were able to do that. But you know, God took us through a storm, and
Yeah.
then used us. And
When you got a, oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
oh, I know there was that wasn't the only time. There were many times like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, just
Not
so
not
all
in
that
not in storms. I didn't get in another storm like that.
right. Yes, sir. I can just
One
imagine, like, saying how that you had to cut runways and land on soccer fields and all that. But like at the end of a moment like that, Brother Jerry, I mean, obviously you're physically, it affects you physically, it affects you mentally, and whole deal. You land that plane after you're done on that day, and just what are those feelings and emotions like at that moment when you're on the ground and you're sitting there and you just kind of think back about what just took place. I mean, I would love to hear what your thoughts were at that point, just
well,
because I know,
there were a lot of times uh, that you had uh, moments, and maybe more than moments, to reflect what
right,
what God has done for you during that day. Uh, I have I have stopped the plane many times after landing at home, and and sat there and literally cried
right,
and shed tears of thankfulness and joy, uh, knowing what God had done for me that day, and just letting it soak in that He's real.
yeah,
He is real. He is there to help you in those circumstances, and
yeah,
thinking that during those times you got to experience that. You you were privileged uh, to be that close to God.
yeah, yeah. I was thinking too. I wrote down a while ago, while you were talking about, and I want to hear just kind of the continuation of your journey, as far as beyond Bolivia. But one of the things that I've always appreciated about you, and I know just just talking with Drew and Lori, obviously and a few guys that are listening or watching, Drew is my brother-in-law, Lori's my sister, and Jerry and Sue are involved in their ministry in Little Rock, Arkansas, South City Church, which is now a coffee shop, which we're going to have them on here to talk about that at some point. But I know how much they've appreciated just your insight and your wisdom, and for me looking into it, the I wrote down, when I was thinking about some things to ask you about, um, the impact that being in America, after you have these experiences in Bolivia and you've seen God do these things that only He could do, and how faithful He's been to you. How often I think we in America and individually we don't take those steps, pursue that call because of fear, because of doubt, because of whatever the case may be. And I've always appreciated the way that you walked into a situation with more of a, I want to use the word open mind, but I think there's a better term, probably more of a discerning spirit to know that anything's possible and anything can happen. Um, as long as you're, as you said at the very beginning, I wrote it down, as long as you're willing to go and be faithful to what he's asked you to be. How have you seen just translating those experiences that you've had into, these experiences? Like, does that make sense? Just how do you relate to people sometimes and
Well,
recognize that?
definitely, Stephen. God prepared me for in those 8 years. God did a work, not only a physical work in my life and saving me, but He did a work in my heart. And
Mm, mm,
I was privileged to go from there to the next 35 years of ministry in worldwide missions.
yeah.
Uh, I had the privilege of visiting with over 90 different countries and working with all of the different nationalities and languages and their mindsets and and the way that they looked at things differently. All the nations and all the peoples of the world look at things differently. And so, what God did for me in those 8 years was open my mind and made it
Mm,
possible for me to receive uh, a kingdom mindset and a kingdom ministry, and able to work with all different kinds of people. And it was just amazing what I was able to do the next 35 years of ministry in these different countries. It, there's no way for me to describe it. Uh, I was just privileged to to go to so many different places of the world. Uh, and our work and our ministry was not just in the large cities. I went to the large
right.
cities. I went to Tokyo. I went to Moscow. I went to the larger cities of the world and ministered there. But I've been in privileged to be in countries where and in villages in mountainous regions like the Philippines, where I've had people say, "Well, you're the second white man we've ever seen, or
Wow.
you're the first white man that's ever been in our village." And just to be able to go to humble people like this and take them truckloads of rice and grain and just to help sustain the entire village, and set up programs where they could have uh, you know rice rice compounds and things to feed them, and teach them how to uh, build these things for themselves. And it's just been a wonderful ride that God has given to me in these different countries of the world.
Yeah. And then you find like because of like um I've I have two questions, but one was um going into these different areas and you were encountering men and women like yourself that had a purpose and a call to a certain area. And then you would many times go to help supply their needs or give them things that they needed, help them with financing, help them with these different areas, whether it's food, finances, whatever the case may be. But how did how do you feel like it helped because of your experience and because of what you had been through? These people, I wrote down that it always seemed like other missionaries truly appreciated you being there, um, and your mindset when you arrived. Did you find that to be the case, and why was that?
Uh, Most definitely, Stephen. We found out in as I said, God gave us a more open mind to the king to God's kingdom work. And
Hmm.
so, therefore, when we went to other countries, we were able to make friends with other mission organizations and help them, as I said, in not only in Bolivia and making flights, but also to just working with them. We worked with when we opened our ministry when the Berlin Wall fell. We opened our ministry in Russia. We were able to work in uh, 13 countries of the former Soviet Union, and we had at one time uh, 284 missionaries, uh, Russian missionaries that we were supporting in these different countries, and it it made it possible for us then just to spread out and just multiply the ministry as we use these uh, men who were already called of God uh, to use them to take the gospel and
Yeah.
preach the gospel to their own people then and
Yeah.
all
Those
those countries. Yeah.
those weren't the most easy places to get into either at the time. And you were, I know of stories, and I'm going to talk in a minute about a time that we were together on an area, but I know there was some moments there where you're taking resources, and there what you wasn't like you could just take the resources in, in a bag. You had to find yourself, you had to find ways at times to get to where they were and to provide them what they needed. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, it wasn't a bag, it was a money belt around my waist.
Yes, sir. Yeah. And so, and I know there was like, I remember that was the one thing that, when I was fortunate to lead just a few mission trips with some students, just kind of tucking that away. But you found yourself with quite a bit of resources on you at one time and trying to make your way through certain areas that were difficult to get through, correct?
Yep, we found that God was still alive and still on his throne and still doing what he said he was going to do. I've
Right.
seen him, I've seen him shut down uh, machines that would have detected our funds that I had around my waist. And then there have been times when when I've gotten uh, pulled to the side and uh, interrogated for about 6 to 8 hours and had to explain what the money was and things of that nature and dealt with people that were way more than inebriated and just had to
Yeah.
deal with all kinds of things.
Right.
uh, but God was always there. we,
Right.
we went- we had to take money off of trains crossing borders and hide the money, and I just wound up being a I guess you'd just say I was a bandit, getting the money overseas.
Yes, sir. Well, I think that's the thing. I remember being in in the Czech Republic, um, with you one time with Jan and Milan and those guys in Yalove, and you had a violinist with you. You were taking him to different places. He was going to different areas. Jamie, George, and the thing that I remember, it was so cool to see you. Obviously, we're over there with a group of kids, and we've been there for a week or so, and then you show up, and we got to spend time with you and just watch you. But the thing that I will never forget for me personally, um, how uh, uh, Jan and those Pastor Jan and those guys just were so glad you were there and that you had a relationship with them that you had built and that you developed, and how you could just how special that was. And I just felt like that missionaries around the world, just based on my experiences, and I know that there's been other guys like that have been with you in different situations, saw that, and I've always appreciated about that. I've appreciated it about you, because you went not telling them what to do, but you went as a support and encouragement, and how can I help? And I will tell you something that was so evident when I watched you interact while I was there, and I can't imagine that's just one instance. Um, and I just can't imagine the like you said, 200, all the different people that you encountered, along the way. Um, tell me about how, or tell us about just how those relationships, you know, not only were built, but that your mindset going into it, not telling them what to do, but how to be a support to who they were.
Well, you realize very quickly that that you're not the smartest one in the group. These people are very, very dedicated to God, the most dedicated that I have ever met anywhere in the world, the most sacrificial. They give up things that we don't even think about giving up here in the United States in order
Hmm.
to do God's work. And they are they are intelligent, and they know how to do things themselves. And if you just give them sometimes a little bit of resources, they can do marvelous things. And our idea was never to think that we were better than them. In fact, I have thought many times, you're an American, and most Americans think that they're so superior to everybody else. And I have, uh, Stephen, there have been so many times that I was in services, uh, and people I've been in, like in Croatia one time when we had just gone through the streets of Prakrach, Croatia, seeing all the uh, people that had the homes bombed out. They didn't have anything left, just their barns, and left, and go into services with them, and a house full of people, uh, people standing in the aisles, and and there have been so many times I've been in places like that when I said, "What in the world are you doing here? You
Hmm.
don't you don't deserve uh, to set your feet at their table. They are
Wow.
so they are so far superior to you spiritually. You will never ever know uh, what they have to go through with just to claim the name of Jesus. It's it's seeing these people and knowing you get the privilege of being able to work with them, and to stand side beside them, and and hold their arms up to help them do the work that God's called them to do. It's it is an amazing thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, like you said earlier, just um, not. I think just basically like being in a position like that. I've seen how that has impacted my life. Just in the limited things that I've encountered, the different people I've been blessed and fortunate to be around, and hearing the stories. And that's truly what this is all about. There people are going to be watching this and listening to this. I hope that that will that may not believe the way we believe. It may not believe the way that you believe, but you encountered that all the time, over the past 35 plus years, that you were in different places. You're walking into situations that, and the missionaries that you were just talking about, the people that go to reach and to be an encouragement, to be a part of people's lives and to love them where they are. Um, but even though people may not believe as we believe, we have a story to tell, and that story that we tell is the thing that makes the biggest difference. And I've said this over and over again that before in my own experiences that I've had just recently, um, over the past few years, I'm thankful for who I was becoming before, I was diagnosed with multiple myeloma in 2022, and and you being 80, I guess you said you supposed to be 85 years old. Um, just the countless stories and experiences that you had and who you have becoming and the choices that you made over the years, Brother Jerry, um, to love unconditionally, to walk not in judgment, but just to walk beside people and be present, be a part of their lives. And like you said, people, I think so often in America, we are so sheltered. We don't have the understanding of even what that looks like. And we presume that we can, um, you know, have others that we know what we're talking about, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I know that in your own, and I was asked this kind of a while ago, but it just, but even then, you love people where they are, right? You don't, you just are present in their life.
Yeah, it's so amazing, uh, the way that God chooses His people and the way He chooses to use them, and there's so many variations. God is an amazing God, and He uses people with all kinds of characteristics and
Yeah,
well, even flaws and things to accomplish His purpose
yeah,
in life, and it's we just we we just have an amazing, marvelous God, and He can use anyone uh, who will humble himself and put himself in God's hands to be
yeah,
used.
yeah. That's right. That's right. Well, Brother Jerry, I know that just to kind of follow, I mentioned this a while ago, but I know um, I didn't realize till recently as you're going through all this, and I would love to hear more even about just Sue and just your experiences and your family and how you kind of move through things. But I know at some point over the past 25 years, you were in the middle of all this while you're traveling and doing missions and doing all that you were doing. You were diagnosed with cancer at some point, and I didn't realize that it had been so long ago until just today, actually. But at what point did you have to face that, and can you tell us about just that moment, and kind of where you were and response, and just kind of just anything that you feel okay to share with us about that part of your journey as well?
Well, at the early stages, of course, of prostate cancer, I underwent the surgery, and it was the radical surgery.
Right,
And as we came out from under the doctor's uh, auspices, we, we were told at that time that the cancer was removed, but that it showed up in the third cut of the lymphatic system. I didn't understand it, but the cancer showed up, and since that time, for all these years, some I guess 20, 23, maybe 24 years, I have uh, taken a hormone shot that was called a Lupron shot, and it has kept the cancer down. And uh, just about 2.5, 3 years ago, it came back, what we would call with a vengeance. And the doctor said, "Well, we're going to have to go to chemo." And of course, nobody likes chemo, and I had a very, very bad experience the last year and a half to 2 years with chemo. A lot of side effects and difficulties and fatigue and the things, mainly the things that goes along with it, to the point to where I had the conversation with my PCP, and it was that doctor fatherly conversation where he said, if you were my dad, I don't know that I would take any more chemo. I would just let it run its course. And just a few weeks ago, not more than 3 months ago, the government came out with a new treatment called Pluvicto for the specifically for the prostate cancer, and
Hmm.
it targets only the bad cells, and it leaves the good cells alone.
Right.
It,
That's kind of a form of immunotherapies, I guess.
yeah, it's radiation,
Oh, okay,
uh,
okay, okay.
and it's liquid. It's a shot that they give every 3 months. Every 6 weeks, I have to get a shot of it, and it has to. The duration of it is about 8 months in all. Every 3 weeks. No, every 6 weeks I have to get it,
Okay.
and so we're very happy with it. It very excited about the results of it. My PSA has dropped down from 14 when we started to 1.6, and
Right.
so we're excited and kind of feel like we have a new lease on life, really.
That's fantastic. That's so exciting. I think too, like just after, you're diagnosed and you go through the surgery and, and you just kind of, there's always that moment, in your mind of think, just that you have to battle through at times of where it is. But I believe like it just seems like with you, and you can kind of tell me what you think about this, but just the purpose and the how much does the purpose and the passion and the call on your life, knowing what that's all about. And every day is an opportunity to live out that call, to live out that purpose, to live out that mission that you have. Um, and you have to deal with the physical restraints and those kind of things when you go through all that. But just in sharing with other people, how much does that help you individually to know that there's something bigger than you that's going on and all the experiences that you've had in your life as you wake up and move into each day and each new opportunity, how much does that impact you as far as how you approach cancer, how you approach life, how you approach new opportunities and things at 85? I just see you living every day. From my perspective, I'm not around you every day, but just recognizing how important every day is that you have and living it to the fullest.
Well, of course, you think about that daily. You pray about it daily, and of course, your prayer is almost the same. Uh, whenever we I prayed that prayer leaving Little Rock. Uh, it, it's
Hmm.
it's the same prayer. Well,
Yeah,
I'll go where you want me to go. I'll do what you want me to do. You just give me
right.
the you just give me the strength. You give me the energy. You show me what it is that you want me to do. Uh, if I have to be if I have to be down, if I have to be disabled, then I'll find something, or you'll have
Wow.
something for me to do. And it's these last few months uh, with the changes that we had to make in our lifestyle. Uh, I'm blind, and I can't drive. My wife has to do everything, And I want to inject right here uh, that a man uh, uh, needs to choose well his mate, and
Yes, sir.
choose he needs to choose someone who first loves the Lord and who loves you and who's willing to put their desires and their preferences on the back burner and do what they need to do to help you uh, in your ministry. And that's what I've had all of my life. All these years, I could not have asked for anyone better, anyone more self-sacrificing than my mate. And if there has been any success, if there has been any degree of honor, it all goes to her. She has done it all, and
Yeah.
I appreciate her so very much.
Yeah.
But I can't say that my life um, goals have changed. They're still the same. I just want to be uh, all that God will allow me to be for Him, for His honor and for His glory. Uh, that's that means whatever the circumstances, how much energy I have. If I don't have any energy, then I can pray, and I can be thankful for what life
Yeah.
He's given me, and
Yeah.
just
Oh man, I love that.
to God be the glory. That's it.
Yeah. So good. I love that because I just know um and just have wanted that to be something that I shared. And I really appreciate what you said about Miss Sue. I mean, just a side note, one of the sweetest people you'll ever meet in your life, and your wife, and knowing I can just see, when if you're pulling out a Little Rock in 15 minutes, you're going, what in the world have I done? She may be sitting there going, what in the world have you done? You
Yeah,
know, I
that's
know
right.
because I can't imagine being, your wife and with your family, and then, you're off on a plane and just the things I can't imagine the stories that she has and just experiences. And so I know how right you are in my own life, having Donna in my life. You're so right. And I get to do a lot of weddings with my wedding business that I have, and I always just encourage that one statement that you just made. It's just if we're going to be anything in life, who we choose and who we walk life with is so important. With spouse is such a huge is a huge deal. I thought that was
Well,
um,
I want
amazing.
to give God the glory too, because uh, he placed a calmness in her heart to be able to
Hmm.
go through these things, and there was never that time when uh, there was the question or the words, well, uh, why are you doing this? Why do we do this? Or what do you think you're doing? That's never been there, and
Wow.
she's been through coups attempts in Bolivia, where she's had to go through blockades with uh, kids 18 years old, 16 years old with automatic rifles in their hands, and uh, and endured flights when she didn't know where I was. Uh, man, you know, God is God is so great that he's a God of details, and He
Yeah.
takes care of those times when you think uh, that she's just there wringing her hands, walking the floor. Uh, not the case, not the case. There's a calmness that God provides. That's how great He
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. That's true. I totally agree with you 100%. I have not lived as many years as you have, but I totally believe that 100%. And it's just amazing. One of the other things that I want to just kind of chat with, just, before we close or end, and I could talk to you forever, but I don't want to keep you forever. But just knowing all that you've experienced and like where you are, I love what you said about just even given in your set of circumstances, and where you are, there's always something in some way that we can fulfill our purpose. It may not be how we were able to before, but you said, if I can't do anything else, I know I can pray, be present, whatever the case may be. And I just want you to know from me, what an impact that you and Sue and have had from a distance in my life, watching how true that statement is. That's not just a statement that you make. That's a statement, Brother Jerry, that you truly are. And I've watched that as you have walked beside Drew and Lori, and I know many other people could talk about how you walked beside them through the different things that they may have felt like their purpose was, and you joined them in their purpose as you felt like God was leading you to do. Because I know, I guess 7 or 8 years now that Drew and Lori, when they started, they entered on this new journey that they're on, with South City and the changes and the adjustments, the way that things weren't traditionally the way they always had been when it came to church, um, and them feeling that purpose. And I know having you there to be a source of counsel, wisdom, and support, and just there has been such a powerful deal. And I want you to know how grateful I am, and what an example I believe that is to so many other people. Um, when you find something that you believe in, you can stand beside, and you bring such a incredible wealth of grace, love, wisdom, support, encouragement with you, Brother Jerry, when you come. And that's made a huge difference in South City Church. As far as the coffee shop, take where you're sitting right now and seeing that dream become a reality. Um, and then Drew and Lori and their family. I just would love for you to talk about just being a man that's, that how, and you've referenced this already, but I can just see how all those years of experience and all the things that you've been through here in America, we just, so often close our minds rather than open our minds. And in a setting that I know that Drew and Lori had been in with South City and the directions that they felt and the elders and leadership of that church felt like they needed to go, so many times, so many others would have dug their heels in. And you put your head down and said, "No, sir, let's go forward." I would love to hear your thoughts on that mentality and just how you came to that place in your life and how that we in America learn so much from that mentality.
Well, I'm not sure exactly how I came to it. I guess you've heard the saying, "Rebel without a cause."
Yes, sir.
Uh, I would prefer to say uh, that actually I've been a rebel with a cause. Uh, I have I have always kind of gone against the grain. I have felt like that God wanted me to do what He has led me to do, and it's been I've had to go through some hot water, uh, and I've gone against sometimes uh, the status quo, and but He's always seen me through it. It didn't make any difference what it was, and I'm thankful for the path that He has given me, and I have seen that this was His design, not mine, from the beginning. And the last few years, of my life and the privilege that I've had, the great privilege I've had of working with Drew and Lori, uh, has been a it's just been the icing on the cake,
Hmm.
and I've been able to, through him and his eyes and his vision, been able to realize things that I never would have been able to do myself.
Wow.
And and he's been so good to let me tag along and be a part of it.
Yeah.
And and brother, we're living the dream right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I would probably say that Drew would say that you're definitely not a tag along.
No.
But I mean, I'm gonna tell you because I love it, and how cool is it to be sitting where you're sitting right now, thinking about where you guys were 7 years ago. We'll talk about that at some point, but I mean, what a what a great journey, huh? To be where you guys are right now.
Oh man, it's been a ride, I tell you. It's
Yeah,
been a
yeah. I know it
great.
has been.
All glory to
Well,
God.
yeah, always.
Mhm.
Like I said, I do want to emphasize. I think that there's so many people um, that could learn so much because so often we find ourselves, thinking that we know something and we know more than we do, and and we get stuck in a moment, or stuck in a belief, or stuck in a pattern, or stuck in whatever. And I just I want to ask, I want you to kind of, if you were to kind of, I don't know, maybe it's would just summarize that, because I just don't see you that way. It's been something that, and I know we all have our issues, right? I mean, everybody has issues. We all have our struggles, but just, how would you encourage others to look beyond themselves and realize that there's probably something they could be a part of and could really be a help to, and they don't have to control everything. They can just be available, even at 85 years old, on a mission called, like a mission like South City has, and this crazy dream to have a coffee shop, which has become a reality. How would you encourage other men and women that are, to embrace the opportunity in front of them rather than to kick against it?
Well, I don't know. You've said so many kind things that I don't deserve at all, and descriptions and characteristics and things that I don't deserve any of those uh, uh, accolades or comments. Uh, I think that all that Jesus wants us to do is to follow Him.
Yeah.
He 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 walked outside the box.
Yes, sir.
He lived outside the box. Uh, his life was uh, to to stir the pot, uh,
Hmm.
to make things different, and to show the world love, what real
That's right.
love is.
Yeah.
And and he was so good at it. Uh, People didn't understand it. Even the 12 didn't understand it. Uh,
Right.
they had problems understanding him. But he was so good at that. And I think the best thing that we can do is just follow Jesus.
Yeah.
Just follow him, and pattern our lives after him. And when he did things that other people weren't doing, just just be willing to do it. He got by with it, and he's in us, and we can get by with it.
I love that. That'd be a great t-shirt. You're gonna get by with it. I think if you know that, and that's the thing. I just so I can't tell you how encouraging it is. Just to know, because it never has been about us anyway, right? It's always been
No,
about
it's
him. And whenever, that's the whole thing, like with the just so you know, the whole fight like a freak mentality, the freak cast. It is a freakish thing, and we live in a world right now where it's so polarized and so divided, and and people pitch their tent and drive down stakes in areas that they in hills that they just shouldn't die on. And I
Yes.
know we can all be guilty of that at times. But
Yes.
what I
Yes.
love about this conversation and what I love about being able to talk to just as a 56-year-old man, um, just I want you to know that this is when I'm 85, I want to always be looking like this. I want to always, and I plan on being 85 too, just so you know. But
Good.
I just always want to be that kind of person. Drew and I've talked about that, often over the years. Just having the ability to, instead of going in and saying why, go in and say why not, and why
Yeah.
wouldn't we, and
Yes.
and
Yes.
if it's something that, as like you said, when you drove out of Little Rock, all those years ago, and spent 3 months traveling and all the experience you've had over the years, I think we all have the opportunity for adventure, and God's calling us onto an adventure of some sort. And I'll tell you this: in 2010, when we began this new direction of our adventure, honestly, I wouldn't have, if you'd have asked me in 2010, Stephen, what are you going to do in 14 years, or 15 years, however many years ago that was, I guess, I would have never tagged it as a wedding business and a cancer diagnosis. I'd never, I've never, I would have never put those together. But I want to tell you, just I've never been, personally, just hearing you say what you say is so encouraging because it's fulfilling to be in the middle of an opportunity that is beyond you, and something that you're not even sure sometimes, what you're doing, exactly, but you're heading in the direction that you feel like you're supposed to head. Um, and so it's a powerful place, it's a fun place to be, and it's just here, it's how encouraging. Yeah. Go ahead.
Nothing like it. Nothing
Yeah.
compares to it. Being
Yeah.
where you're supposed to be. Getting in the orbit God's built for you.
Let me write that down. Getting in the orbit that God's built for you. I love it. Well, Brother
That's
Jerry,
where
I can't.
that's where
Go
success
ahead.
is. That's where success is. Where happiness is. Where freedom is. Where
Mm,
easy to work. It's all there. When you fly freely in the orbit that God's made for you.
right, right. And it's that like the verse that says, I've been young and now I'm old, but I've never seen the righteous forsaken or his seed begging for bread.
Amen.
And just being faithful where you are and loving people, and that's like you said about Jesus. That's one of the things that I just feel like is so important is that it was when it all came down to the end of it. If you're going to see summarize it, I mean, that's what he said: love God and love people. That's it,
Yeah.
and
Right.
that's what it's all about. So, anything else you want to share? I don't want to keep you, but I can't thank you enough for doing this. This is something that Drew and Lori and I talked about, and it was it was something that I personally, selfishly, be quite honest with you, was wanted to have this conversation because I'm gonna tell you something. You never know, right? I mean, to a little boy in Taylor, Arkansas, or Bradley, Arkansas, wherever I was, seeing you with a plane, in that picture, and I should have put this up a while ago. This is you, and there's I should have put that up there a while ago when you were talking about her. Um, this is you can't see it between you and her speaking. I guess that's South City, isn't it, Drew?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's Miss Sue, and man, what a precious lady she's all been. And then here's you and your tag along right here, you and Drew. Yeah. And just for everybody, listen, I'm gonna have Drew on here at some point, and hopefully pretty soon, and Lori Lee too. But the thing that this adventure that you guys have had with South City and just the church that they started working with, and it just changed and shifted and eventually sold the building and are now have a coffee shop called 317 in Little Rock. If you're in Little Rock, you should definitely check it out. But I want to tell you something. As somebody watching this vision happen and the journey that you guys have been on, it has been absolutely amazing. And I just am so excited. Every now and then I'll talk to Drew and I know that you guys have issues come up and I'm just like, dude, where you guys have come from, where you are is incredible. It's just nuts what you guys have seen happen up there. And couldn't be more proud and excited, for sure. But I just want to thank you for doing this with me today, Brother Jerry.
Well,
Um,
I appreciate it so much, Stephen. I don't think that I have been able to add anything to your podcast, but I appreciate it. But I am so. I just want to tell you, uh,
yeah,
for God to show you how good God is. These my last or waning years. Of course, nobody knows how many more I've got left, but these last waning years of my life have been the joy of it all. It
uh,
to see what has happened here uh, with the old Temple Church and the South City and the vision. It, I can't explain it. I can't say how marvelous it is and how grateful I am to God for allowing me to live out these last few years of my life here.
yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I know you've been a blessing to them, and you've definitely been a blessing to Don and I and our family, just watching from afar. And just, I was going to say this while ago, and for a little boy in Taylor, Arkansas, seeing a gleaner, which it was this, had to be pretty much right here at this point, at some point in my life, seeing you with a plane and hearing your story, no telling, just how what an impact that had on my life and so many others. And I know that same impact that Drew and Lori are feeling and their kids and everybody there at South City as well, is definitely feeling the same thing. So we love you very much and very grateful for you and for the example that you've shown. And again, I know nothing's perfect, right? We all have our issues, we all have our struggles, but I'll tell you, it's been a blessing to be able to know you and look forward to hugging your neck again real soon. And very thankful that you came on the Freakcast with me today and to just share your story
Thanks
and
again,
let
Steve.
people hear
It-
get a
I
start.
appreciate all the work you have done and Drew's help with it. I wouldn't have been able to do anything without y'all.
Yeah,
Thanks a
yeah,
lot. The Lord
yes,
bless
sir, yes, sir. And I think that's a great deal. 15 minutes out of Little Rock. That'd be a great book title or something like that. You
you.
guys have a great day. Thank you again. We appreciate you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Bye bye.
Bye.
All right, folks, that's it. Listen, I want to tell you if you're listening and you stay with us to the end and are you watching back at some point, I don't ever, I know I've encountered many of you, and if some of you are watching this and you've gotten to the end of this with me, thanks for the journey. And you're not gonna, hear have the opportunity to hear many stories like that. Just the the love and the open mindedness and the passion and the perseverance that he has and that he's had, just kind of moving forward in his life. And so I don't know, that's just what this thing's all about. And for me it's always been just about my relationship with the Lord and um and the opportunity um to know him. And so I encourage you, it's whatever you go through, wherever you're at, whatever your beliefs are, whatever your thoughts may be, a testimony like that is so powerful. And it goes back to the whole deal of this one verse that I love to show up here, which is that they overcame the enemy, by the power of the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony. Your story matters, and there's a story being written in your life. And you may be in the middle of some difficulties or some struggles and wondering, why in the world am I even here? Or why am I going through this? Why has this even happened to me? And I didn't bring this up with Brother Jerry earlier, but that that you know that God is faithful, and I don't believe that. For me, I've said this many times that even with the cancer diagnosis, it's not that um, that God did this to me, but it didn't stop it either. And we have an opportunity how we respond to whatever we face in our life. So I encourage you with that. So hey, Liz, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being a part of the Freakcast with me. And we're gonna have another episode coming up real soon. And so until then, be blessed. Have a great day. And I encourage you to fight like a freak. And so we'll take you out like we brought you in because I love the song and you can listen to it everywhere else. Talk to you later.